So minutes ago, the White House knocked down reports that the administration is considering a scenario to replace the Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, within the next few months with CIA Director Mike Pompeo. He would take his place at State. And then Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton would move over from the Senate to lead the CIA. Here's Press Secretary Sarah Sanders.
When the president loses confidence in someone, they will no longer serve in the capacity that they're in. The president was here today with the Secretary of State.
So that's Sarah Sanders kind of denying the report, but not really. And in the last hour, here is how the State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert addressed the report.
The White House statement confirmed that there will be no personnel changes. It is a fact that Secretary Tillerson serves at the pleasure of the president, as we all do, as does every political appointee and cabinet member. Secretary Tillerson enjoys this job. He has a lot of work to do.
So my political panel's back with me. Kirsten, let me start with you, because President Trump was asked this morning about a potential move. Here's what he had to say.
Mr. President, do you want Rex Tillerson on the job, Mr. President?
He's here. Rex is here.
Do you want him to stay in his job?
Thank you very much, everybody.
Not exactly a ringing endorsement when the biggest thing you can say, the most positive thing about whether you want somebody on a job is
he's here.
He exists. He exists and is present. Is this the end for Tillerson? Is he being shown the exit?
Well, I mean, certainly things don't look good for him. I mean, the reporting seems to be that he's on his way out, and it's not a big surprise because he hasn't been a good fit with President Trump, and Mike Pompeo is a much better fit in terms of the way he sees the world. We were talking in the last segment about, you know, having sober people giving advice, and I think Rex Tillerson, whatever criticisms people have of him, probably fits that.
Yeah, sure.
Mold. And the president obviously doesn't like it. And he has attacked him on Twitter for the, diplomacy with North Korea. And he's been clearly unhappy. Of course, there's reports of Tillerson calling Trump a moron. I'm sure that didn't help things very much. And so Mike Pompeo actually is just much more in line with how the president thinks about the world and would make more sense, I think.
We do have some breaking news on this story. Let's bring in CNN's Michelle Kosinski's at the State Department. Michelle, tell us what you're learning about this weird story about the White House and the State Department, and specifically Secretary Tillerson.
Yeah, well, just in case this hasn't been crystal clear watching this develop today, I just talked to a source close to the White House that has direct knowledge of the situation, spent time at the White House this afternoon, and confirmed that, yes, this plan and this narrative that has been put out there and has been out there for the last few days strongly came from the White House, that this was their idea to put it out there, to express the White House's extreme displeasure with Rex Tillerson. And when we talked about this seeming a lot like a public shaming, this source confirmed, yes, it is intended as a public shaming. And to get Rex Tillerson to, quote, punch out, and another quote, the clock is ticking. In the course of this conversation, I expressed at one point, well, this seems kind of sad to do it this way. And the response was, is it though? And the feeling was that Tillerson should have seen this coming, should have seen the writing on the wall, Jake.
All right, Michelle Kosinski with that breaking news at the State Department. Great reporting. Thank you so much. Was the writing on the wall as soon as it was reported that Tillerson in a private meeting had called President Trump a moron, and Tillerson, including in this very studio, refused to deny it?
Absolutely. I think if you're going to work for a president, the ability to give him private counsel, the ability to be very candid behind closed doors is absolutely essential. But you also need to have that person's trust. And I think the problem for Tillerson was he didn't have the trust of the president, but he also didn't have trust within the State Department either. I mean, you need to either have the folks who are the career folks in the building who have embraced you and think that you're at least fighting for them, or be on the team of the White House. And Tillerson kind of lived in this no man's land. This is a particularly embarrassing way for him to go out, but this is not the first time that Trump has embarrassed someone who is close to him as he has sort of nudged them aside. So this is
a long list.
So frankly, if you're somebody who's considering taking a role in Trump's cabinet, I feel like looking at an episode like this ought to give you pause, which is not great for an administration that has already had trouble recruiting top talent.
MJ, why do it that way? Why not just fire the person? Why drag it out? Why humiliate them? Why embarrass them? And as Kristen points out, this is hardly the first time. We've seen it with Priebus. We've seen it with Sean Spicer. I could go down the list, but it's only an hour-long show. I mean, why do it this way?
I think this is a way that the president wants to do it because it's a part of his personality. We have seen him actually sort of strangely uncomfortable with confrontations. In some ways, he is extremely aggressive, extremely out there, makes clear what he's thinking. And then there are other moments we have seen where he's not really comfortable firing people. He doesn't, like to actually say the words "you're fired," even though he has said that many times before in a previous life. But he finds other ways of expressing his displeasure. I mean, the fact that the White House spokeswoman, I think I counted 3 times within the first few minutes of the White House press briefing, was directly asked, does the president have confidence in Tillerson? And yes or no question, she would not answer it. And I think, there's an interesting moment on the Hill today. Bob Corker, the senator, was doing a gaggle, and he made it very clear that Tillerson should not go, that would not be a good outcome in his, from his perspective. But he said, I feel like there is someone who is trying to undermine Tillerson, and I don't know who it is. I think the senator knows.
I think we know who it is. Everyone stick around. We have lots more to discuss. A rare show of